If the thought leaders in the Democratic Party keep encouraging and not rebuking the idea that America is cringe and the people who run Gaza are great, the Democrats are doomed. Alyssa Slotkin's right. Liberals are weak and woke, especially the white ones, and they indulge all sorts of nonsense from their kids, a pattern that then continues on in the Democratic Party.
You know what's wild? The Democratic Party used to be the one that stood up for free speech, individual liberty, and the little guy. But somewhere along the way, it got hijacked by a crowd that thinks America is the villain in every story. And if that mindset keeps spreading, if the so-called thought leaders on the left keep nodding along every time someone trashes this country, the Democrats are finished. Done. Toast. Bill Maher, yeah, the liberal comedian who's been on TV forever, actually said it better than most conservatives have. He called it straight. The left's biggest problem isn't Trump, it's themselves. When even Maher is saying liberals are weak and woke, especially the white ones, you know something's gone off the rails. And honestly, he's right. Let's start with the numbers he dropped, because they're shocking. Less than 1 in 4 Democrats under 30 say they're proud to be American, and more than half, 54%, say they're embarrassed by it. Embarrassed. Like America's their mom pulling up in a minivan to drop them off at school. What's there to be embarrassed about? You live in one of the freest, wealthiest, most opportunity-filled countries on the planet, and you're embarrassed. Please. And that's the problem right there. Zero perspective. Nobody's saying America's perfect. Of course it's not. No country is. But if you look at where progress has actually happened, America's ahead of the rest of the world on almost every issue young liberals say they care about. We've got over 14 million women-owned businesses. 17% of black women are starting companies, faster than white women or men. That's progress. Gay Americans can marry whoever they want, and nearly half of them own property. In America, gay people buy buildings. That's not oppression, that's success.
It's less than 1 in 4 Democrats under 30 say they're proud to be an American. 54% say they're embarrassed by it. Embarrassed. Like America's your mom picking you up at school? You're embarrassed to be an American? Well, guess what? The feeling's mutual, because you have no perspective. Is America perfect? No, of course not. No country is. But the U.S. is leagues ahead of the rest of the world on most of the progressive issues that are important to young people. America has 14 million women-owned businesses. 17% of black women are starting businesses, which is faster than white women or white men. Gay Americans are free to marry, and 49% of them own property. Yes, in America, gays buy buildings.
Now, Maher didn't just throw out stats to make a point. He went there, comparing America to the countries some on the left keep defending, especially in the Arab world. You've got places where women can't drive, can't vote, can't own a business, and can't even leave the house without a man's permission. People are jailed for speaking freely. LGBTQ people. They don't just get canceled online, they get killed. And yet somehow these same Western progressives who think the US is evil will wave the flags of regimes that would throw them off rooftops. Make it make sense. Maher's point hit hard because it forced a real question. Why do so many young liberals idolize countries that crush the very freedoms they claim to fight for? Why is it trendy to hate the US as the country that lets you tweet, protest, and criticize it without fear of being dragged off by police in the middle of the night? At a Bernie Sanders and AOC rally recently, someone threw a Palestinian flag over an American one. The crowd cheered like it was a touchdown. You'd think one of the adults on stage would step up and say, "Hey, that's not a symbol of freedom, this is," but no. Silence.
Globalize the intifada is the catchphrase that's really catching on these days. At an AOC Bernie Sanders rally in Idaho last month, someone threw a Palestinian flag over an American flag, and the crowd erupted in approval. What should have happened after that is one of the adults on stage should have told their young, loyal followers, "This is not a symbol of freedom. This is."
Because these leaders created the problem. They've spent years telling young people that America is a villain, so now they can't turn around and tell them otherwise. And that's what's killing the Democratic Party from the inside out. When your base is a generation raised on self-loathing and moral relativism, you can't suddenly convince them that America's the good guy. They don't believe it anymore. Let's be real. This didn't start yesterday. From classrooms to TikTok feeds, the message has been the same. America's racist, capitalist, imperialist, and everything bad in the world is our fault. No wonder kids think they're rebelling by hating their own country.
If the thought leaders in the Democratic Party keep encouraging and not rebuking the idea that America is cringe and the people who run Gaza are great, the Democrats are doomed. Alyssa Slotkin's right. Liberals are weak and woke, especially the white ones, and they indulge all sorts of nonsense from their kids, a pattern that then continues on in the Democratic Party. Last election, it was all the gender stuff, the insistence that men can have babies and such, and now I fear that we like the terrorists is the new that. Liberals need to push back on the dumb ideas that come from their children.
But here's the problem. If you can't recognize what's good about America, you'll never protect it. Maher laid it out perfectly. He said liberals love getting wrapped up in nonsense, like gender politics and performative activism, while ignoring actual issues. He joked about how, last election, Democrats were all about the idea that men can have babies. And he's not exaggerating. That was the talking point. Meanwhile, real problems like the economy, border security, and national safety were sitting in the back seat with no one at the wheel. That's not just bad politics, that's suicide. Most Americans don't wake up worrying about pronouns. They worry about their bills, their kids, their safety. And when the left ignores that in favor of whatever social media trend is hot that week, they lose the middle. Maher said it bluntly. The energy of the party is with the young, and the young are with the terrorists. Harsh words, but look at the rallies. He's not wrong. He even joked that these kids should be told, you don't want to live like your heroes in Hamas. Because seriously, all that stuff they love doing, scrolling on an iPhone, ordering Uber Eats, tweeting about oppression from a Starbucks, every bit of it was made possible by American freedom and capitalism. You tell your phone you want a milkshake and a guy brings it to your door in 10 minutes. Try that in Gaza.
The Democrats' problem is the energy of the parties with the young and the young are with the terrorists. That's not good. So talk to your children and remind them, you don't really want to live like your heroes in Hamas. All the you do all day, it was all made in America. Your smartphone, your Grubhub, your freedom to bitch about America, that's all American stuff. You tell your phone you want a milkshake and a guy brings it to your house. Please, you couldn't survive a week living in Intifadaville.
But it's not just about kids, it's about adults who are too scared to parent them. Maher ripped into that too. This new generation of parents who are terrified of their own children. Kids say something insane like, gender's just a social construct, and instead of saying, no, that's ridiculous, parents nod and say, you're right, honey. What happened to adults being adults? And that's exactly what's happened in the Democratic Party. The adults, the people who should know better, are scared of the kids. They've let the radicals take over, afraid to correct them, afraid to say no, because they don't want to get canceled. That's how you end up with a political party that refuses to admit men and women are different, or that law and order matters, or that national pride isn't a sin. Every time they cave to the mob, they lose another piece of common sense, and another chunk of voters. And Maher's right about this too. The country needs two healthy parties. We can't function with one side obsessed with loyalty tests and the other trapped in a woke echo chamber. But Democrats have become so allergic to pushback that they're rotting from the inside. You can see it in everything, from the way their politicians behave to the way their voters act in public. Maher even told this story about the kiss cam at a sporting event. The camera zoomed in on a couple and they immediately ducked out of sight, embarrassed to be seen. He said, I don't know for a fact they were Democrats, but I know they were. It's that same timidity, afraid to be noticed, afraid to take a stand, afraid of everything.
Democrats need to get their together because we need two parties in this country, and we desperately need the one that still concedes elections, doesn't sell the office, and doesn't want to completely switch out democratic rule of law for a rubber-stamped autocracy. But that party is so right now, and nothing to me symbolized that more than this video. Why do I say that? Well, let me put it this way. I don't know for a fact that this couple are Democrats. I just know it's true.
Democrats are the party of fear now. Fear of COVID, fear of offense, fear of being called names online. They masked toddlers, closed schools for years, and wrecked kids' development. Not because the science demanded it, but because they were terrified of being wrong. And the irony, the same people screaming resist have become the most compliant, rule-following group in the country. They've traded critical thinking for moral signaling. You can't question anything without someone trying to destroy your career. Meanwhile, the real world keeps moving on. The economy's shaky, the border's a mess, and global threats are piling up. But the conversation's still about microaggressions and safe spaces.
I knew they were Democrats for the same reason I knew this was a Democrat. You can't hide from the kiss cam, and you can't hide in the Oval Office. Damn, if only the lady at the Coldplay concert had brought some folders with her, maybe she wouldn't be in hot water today.
Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most Americans are tired of it. They're tired of pretending insanity makes sense. They're tired of being told their country's evil. They're tired of walking on eggshells to appease people who will never be satisfied. Maher even pointed out something that gets lost in all the noise. That being proud of America isn't nationalism, it's gratitude. When people in Hong Kong were fighting for freedom, they waved the American flag. They saw it as a symbol of hope. That's what this country represents.
The most beautiful symbol of freedom. When the people of Hong Kong stood up to China, they waved the American flag. Why? Because it's not just a beautiful flag. It is a symbol of hope and liberty. Today's divide in America, sadly, is not just about taxes or policy. The left resents this country. They're willing to embrace regimes that hate women, Christians, basic freedoms, because they share one thing: a hatred for America. Don't ever apologize for being proud of this country. You have a moral duty to be.
Even with all its flaws, people risk their lives to come here. They wait years, spend fortunes, and pray for the chance to live in a country where they can speak freely, start a business, or worship without fear. So yeah, if you live here, you should be proud, you should defend it. And if you're an immigrant who came here legally, who works hard, follows the rules, and loves this country, you're exactly what makes America great. You're the kind of person we need more of. The problem is the ones who come here to tear it down, to demand we become more like the places they escaped. That's madness. Maher even singled out politicians like Ilhan Omar, who came here from Somalia, a country wrecked by corruption and violence, and now spends her time trashing the US online. If anyone should be grateful, it's her. But no, she acts like America's the problem.
He appears to be an immigrant. I'm gonna guess he's a legal immigrant. And that's the type of American you can be really, really proud of. And that's the type of people that we want here. Someone who loves this place, who understands this place, who doesn't want to come here and fundamentally alter it the way Zorhan Flamflami does. It's different. It's different. And we better really start understanding that. Do you think that Welch chick really loves America? Or does she want to burn it down? What do you think the Hamas guy over there wants to do? Or the Batman villain, or the rest of them? I mean, they tell you all the time, right? You don't have to believe me. Go see. You know, we always check it every year. Go see what they post on Memorial Day or on Labor Day or on Thanksgiving. And they never post an appreciation for this country. They never step back. Ilhan Omar should wake up every morning and get on her knees and look up at the flag and thank this country for taking her out of Somalia. But instead she has come here to burn it down.
And look, you don't have to be conservative to see how backwards that is. You just have to have a little perspective. America's the only place on earth where people can openly hate the government, mock the president, protest in the streets, and still go home safely afterward. That's freedom, but you wouldn't know that if all you watch is filtered media feeds that glorify every regime that stands against the West. These kids see cherry-picked clips that make oppressive societies look noble, when in reality, they're hellholes for anyone who values liberty. That's why Maher said it's time to tell the truth, to stop romanticizing cultures that punish dissent and start teaching young people what actual oppression looks like. Because when you realize how bad it is elsewhere, you stop taking America for granted. At the end of the day, Maher's message was simple. America's still the best country in the world. It's not perfect, but it's free, fair, and full of opportunity. And if Democrats want to survive, they need to stop apologizing for that. They need to stop letting children and activists dictate policy, because right now, the party looks less like a movement and more like a daycare. And that last bit Maher said? Brutal, but true. He joked that Democrats are the only ones afraid of their own kids. But that fear, that refusal to push back, is why the left's losing ground. You can't build a strong party on weakness, and you can't win voters with endless self-hatred.
But parents used to tell them, that's ridiculous. The world doesn't work that way. Not today's parents. They say, you're right, honey. Gender is just a social construct.
Here's the bottom line. If you're embarrassed to be American, you don't deserve the luxury of that embarrassment, because the very freedom that lets you say it, that's the thing you're insulting. So, if you're tired of watching politicians twist themselves into knots to appease activists instead of serving the people, hit that like button. If you still believe America's worth defending, subscribe and stick around, because this conversation's not going away anytime soon, and it's about time someone said it loud. Stop apologizing for loving your country, because if we lose pride in what makes America special, we lose the country itself.